We will kick things off here. So today I have a very special guest, client Justice, with us following his recent milestone of entering the Unleashed CEO's 100K Club, him cracking six figures within 12 months. So super excited to have him here with us today and kind of share his journey along with his breakthroughs along the way in our time working together over these last 6 months. So today we're going to be breaking down how Justice went from 10K to 100K in 6 months' time. We're going to be diving into the authentic attraction method that we deployed early on when we started working together that has since that time allowed Justice to basically show up authentically and attract his ideal clients on demand. And then we're also going to be diving into the Unleashed systems and processes that allowed him to shave back hours off his week to spend more time with his family as he continued to grow his business. So with all that good stuff said, I'm pleased to have Justice here with us today. I'm going to pass the floor to him, let him do a little bit of an intro, and then we'll get started.
What's going on, everybody? Shoot, I can go as deeper as little in this intro as we like, but I can even gotta take it from the top here. Justice Severin, thanks for having me here, Blake. Appreciate you, man. Hey, take it from the top, really. Affiliate marketing, that was kind of the big thing that got me into this whole world that we're in now. Of course, how far should I go back, Blake? Do you mind me going back, or
yeah, man, go take everyone. Let's go back to when you first started to make that decision to work towards this goal of growing an online business. Talk a little bit about that process.
Love that. Yeah, absolutely. I can remember honestly sitting on the couch back in this other room here. I was looking at some YouTube. I was big into music, and I was a full-time accountant before. Even Blake knows I was working as an accountant for a long time, even while I was in this journey, while we were connected. We still are connected, obviously. And I was just looking for something else. Music was taking up a lot of my time. You can see I got the guitars back here. I was big in the music production. So realistically, taking that, was working like 40, 50 hours a week in my accounting, like 15, 20 hours a week at the studio that I was working at in the music side. Really wanted something else. Just like you said, I got a family, had a daughter, wife, 2 daughters, now just had a newborn. Was looking for a big change, something to give me that kind of freedom back in. So I remember sitting on the couch. I saw some video about some guy talking about making money online. Checked it out, some $40 thing, bought into it. First found out about affiliate marketing there. And that was really back, to give a timestamp, back July last year. So then now I kind of went ahead, tried it out. They had some, big upsells like all these programs do. Nothing wrong with that. I just didn't go with that one. But I decided to then kind of, it stuck in my mind, this whole affiliate marketing thing. I remember they kind of mentioned some things about starting an agency and pieces, but they were talking about how this affiliate marketing side just is the best place to start as far as from a cash flow standpoint, not needing the most capital to get into it, least experience. And that was just really eye-opening to me. I was someone where, once again, no marketing background, really no sales background. My biggest degree in sales was, working in the studio. I would have, conversations with people. It felt like almost, since I was doing that as like a side hustle, I always feel like I wasn't the best audio engineer, but people just had a good vibe with me there. So, I was like, what, maybe I can transform this a little bit. So, it was back, I think in September, I kind of took my first big dive and I spent about $2,500 to get my first real affiliate marketing program. And that's really kind of what got this thing, got the fuel going. Because at that point, I remember even, I won't go too much further, but I remember even talking about how that one didn't really work out for me that well, if I'm being honest. I spent that, I spent all that money on it, but I remember thinking like, I've already put this into it. There's no turning back at this point. If I was to stop here, all that's wasted.
So that was that first big investment.
Oh, that was the first big investment. And that was the one that basically was like, well, shoot, man, we got to go forward from here no matter what turns out. So it's all about making a way from there. And obviously you take other L's along the way, but fortunately we're here now. So
I think an amazing segment out of that too is like literally a year ago from basically today, you were just getting started. Little to no marketing experience. And now you're sitting here with a six-figure business a year later. That's crazy.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought it. My wife definitely wouldn't have thought it. That was some tough conversations investing in the beginning, but we made it. She's happy now.
So even going into that first big investment, what was kind of going through your mind on that first plunge? Did you feel pretty confident in who you were investing with at the time, or was it more like, a little bit unsure?
It was obvious, of course, that uncertainty was there. But I felt confident that I think I most importantly had belief in myself. I think that I knew that, hey, you know what? I'm a capable guy. Like for myself, I was self-taught as a music producer for 3 years. I got to a point where I could work at a studio and, be an audio engineer and get paid for it. So I was like, you know what? I can do it in that from a guy who has an accounting degree, no business doing something like that. Let me take this and maybe I can apply. It's not a full-on accounting side, but it's business. So let me go ahead and see if I can take what I really know, take my combined experience and make that happen. So for sure there was some uncertainty, but I think once again, that's probably what pushed me that much more. Like where, once again, whether this works or not, I'm in this at this point. I believe in it. It seems like it's the most, for lack of a better word, realistic way of taking this thing to the next level. So yeah, I was in there. I was in there, man.
I honestly think that's one of the biggest keys. And going at any investment, honestly, like you have to go into it knowing that even if it doesn't work out the way you want, you're going to go into it going all that. You're going to give it 100% effort. And then from there, you play, seeing exactly how it turns out. If it doesn't work out well, if you don't align with the person, you can always pivot.
Well, done plenty of pivoting. That's the truth there. Seriously. I mean, even like, once again, from that one, how that worked out, even going from that situation, I got fortunate to where I was about to go all in with, I don't like to hate on paid ads, but in this circumstance, I was going into paid ads, and it got to a point where I just didn't really want to take that route. And luckily, that's the point where I kind of found. So once again, I'm at a crossroad here. I already spent $2,500. Now I'm saying, hey, there's someone who's coming across here who can help me. And this is before I even met Blake at that point. And really now I'm thinking, hey, I'm seeing other people are trying to reach out to me, say, hey, do this, do that. But once again, I think that there was something about that person that really, really got to me, really in a positive way. I said, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. Because once again, I had that feeling I've come too far. I'm not going to take pride and put the pride to the side and say, hey, you know what, I don't care that I've spent X here. And you know my story, Blake. I was in debt throughout all this piece here. So that's, like I said, my wife was not happy with all this by any means. And so realistically, but just once again, believing in myself to the point where I got to make this thing happen. And if I think that this is the right path, I'm going to take it. And I think that even that point right there, that whole gut feeling, I think that is something where you gotta get to that point where you trust yourself. And obviously you can't be 100% correct every time, but as I wasn't the very first time, but at the end of the day, it got me to where I am now. So I wouldn't say that it was the wrong decision either. Shoot.
100%, man. And honestly, this isn't a trick question, but if you had to say, like, along the lines of belief with that first investment, what would you say, being at a point where you were in debt, you had a little bit of pressure from your wife, obviously not wanting you to invest because of that instance, what really made you want to take that plunge and take that first step and make that first investment? Like, if you had to distill it down to a couple words.
To use the popular words, freedom, man, freedom. I had gotten a taste of that remote life working as an accountant from home during the whole COVID situation. I wanted that freedom to be able to do that full time, that work from home lifestyle. That a lot of people talk about the laptop lifestyle being on a beach. To me, working from home and as I do now, like, this is all I've ever wanted. And I got a taste of that back at the start of COVID, and I never wanted to go back. I knew that there was a clock on it. And like, realistically right now, I would be back if things didn't change. So I think that alone was like one of the biggest driving forces.
I think you said keyword number 2 with the word clock. Like, that, to me, it comes down to speed. You tasted that feeling of COVID, and now it's like, okay, I want to make sure I can go full time with this as quickly as possible. And you know that in order to make that happen, investing in yourself is the easiest way to do it.
That's spot on, man. And that actually, I'm so glad you pointed that out there, because that was it. In my mind, I kind of knew, like, once again, this thing was, I had a chance where I didn't know when I was going to have to go back to work. Like, I talked about getting into this in July. I made that big investment in September. To me, it was like I could have went back to the office in October, could have went back in January, April. So in my eyes, it's like, hey, I don't know when I may potentially have to go back. Let me take as much advantage as I can as possible. And that's where you're exactly right. And investing myself, I saw that. How else can I make this happen any faster?
It's crazy too. Same is with me too. Like, my business saw the biggest growth during COVID because I wanted to create speed during that time. I had to make the most of the time that I had, tasted what that freedom felt like working full time from home. And I think it was just an overall great opportunity to really go all in and make the most of the time you had. Create that speed. So now that you've had that first big investment, you got that under your belt. Now you're kind of going towards, so that was after July. Now you take this a little bit from there.
So basically, I made that July was when I first even found out what affiliate marketing was. So I was about to get into they wanted me to pay like $4 or $5K or something to get into that. I was like, this doesn't feel right. So I waited. And that first big investment, that was in September. I think actually I was looking at the dates, but recently, August 31st is when that was. And so then at that point, I kind of spent the month getting into the system, realizing that it looks like this. I didn't know what I was getting into, but the whole paid ads thing was starting to realize that was coming to the surface. And not that I didn't know any better, but I felt I was about to try, even though I knew, once again, I only have so much of a budget. So it's like realistically, and you learn this as you go. It's like you need that ads game takes money to make money. So like the kind of, I was asking people like, hey, how much do I need to put for an ad budget? I'm like, I'm thinking about doing like $300 a month. And even the answers I'm getting, they're like, yeah, that's that's enough to make some traction. But it's like deep down, I'm like, I don't need traction. I need some serious results here. So I was still about to go through with that. And then I think like the first week of October, that's kind of when I got approached with this organic strategy that really has, I've never gone back since, honestly. So yeah, that's really when things really started to switch back in October. And I can even talk further, but yeah, I'll leave it there for now.
And I think even like you bringing up ads too, I was the same way early on in my journey. I did solo ads, Facebook ads, and I think that all comes back to the same keyword again: speed. We want speed early on. We want to get to results as quickly as possible. Some ways more efficient than other, but like Facebook ads early on is more of a declining speed. It's not a good speed, but if you can invest in yourself and develop those foundational skills and build that foundation, it's so much easier to create speed off of that than it is to have nothing and then try to jump right into ads.
Spot on there, right? From the sense of, as a beginner, you got no experience, right? I'm not coming as a guy who's got experience in accounting and music. What do I know about writing sales copy and sales and marketing to put that into an ad and actually it's one thing to spend that kind of money the first time, but how many times we get things right the first time out the gate, right? So now I spend this money, it doesn't work out. How many more months can I go doing this? Well, that's kind of why I said, traction was what I was looking for. It was like, I want that more. Once again, there's no guarantees, but give me something proven here. This ads didn't feel so proven at the time.
So after kind of diving into ads with that first program, was it low ticket with that first one?
It was there, value ladder. So, it had the chance for the high ticket opportunity. And to be honest, I think we're leading into that. So after that, when I switched to the organic side, that is the one I got my even first true high ticket sale with but it was not doing it with the paid ad side. It was going purely organic there, kind of promoting these low ticket offers with the chance of an upsell. And that's how I got my first, I think at the time, it was a $4,500 sale. So I got $1,350 or so for commission. So, and I remember that commission came in on Thanksgiving morning, which it's kind of crazy that someone decided to buy that product on Thanksgiving morning, but I like their drive as that, man. They were clearly motivated too. So, but that was a great little thing right there.
So then you kind of segued into getting into high ticket next. And at this point, like before, you weren't really doing too much with content, right? It was kind of once you got into high ticket, you started to actually put out content and started to build that audience up.
And honest, so right when I kind of found that first kind of coach, mentor, you want to call it, that's when I got the content going. And as you know, I spoke with this you before. Probably it's been so long. We worked together for so long now. It might feel like a distant memory to you. But my content, you definitely know this. My content, I always said, I was just putting content out to put content out. More so, there was no direction besides general authority, right? I wanted to be, as we both know, there's a lot of people in this game who are trying organic and they're winging it. And realistically, if you can at least keep out putting consistent content, you're going to put yourself at least at that top percent, which whatever percentage that is, whether it's top 15% of people are actually being consistent with their content, you're in that top 15. Now, we both know that the competition is still extremely stiff up there. So that's not always enough. But at the end of the day, that's as in-depth as my content was. And as far as the timeline goes, so I was doing the low ticket from about October and then November. I think that's when I took the plunge based as a recommendation to at least get into the true high ticket side, like controlling that cart and now not having to rely on this kind of slow cash flow of the whole value ladder system. And then once again, being able to now sharpen those true skills of sales. Like once you can it was really getting clear to me. Once you can take care of that side of things, even as you hear, it's like that's when you start printing money in your business. So that's why I switched over and jumped into SAA back. I think it was early November. November, yeah.
So at that time, you were starting to put out content and you felt like you just said it wasn't really serving much of a purpose, but you were focused kind of more on those sales skills, developing those sales skills, and you started to make some stuff happen pretty quickly within SAA.
Yeah, absolutely there. So my first 2 weeks of joining, and I think I credit this because I was doing the organic before with a low ticket, kind of using it as training wheels. I always kind of describe it as. And then my first 2 weeks after jumping SAA, I made my first high ticket sale. Funny thing there, and Jacobs even made a post about this where it got refunded like a day or two later. So you can imagine the ego, and you're super pumped. I think I even put that in my post recently where me and my dog were playing Let's Do It, Do It, Do It by Black Eyed Peas like over and over that night. And then I find out 2 days later, this thing gets refunded. So man, like a hit to the core with that one. But once again, keeping that same feeling, like I've come too far and I know that this thing works now. Maybe it didn't work out as exactly how I planned there, but this thing works there. So once again, and so kind of like I said, in October, I was keeping the content going. November, that's when that sale happened. Luckily, later on, that's when I mentioned the whole value ladder high ticket came. So that gave me a little more momentum. But December was still really a slow month for me. I made like $300 or $400 sales, but I didn't get another high ticket sale until literally December 31st. And that's when things really started to take off, I would say.
So that takes us through 2020. And then at this point, you were kind of entering 2021, still kind of focused on high ticket early on in that. And that's when things really started to pick up sales wise for you.
Oh, spot on there, man. So I got that kind of first December 31st there, had my first kind of true high ticket sale where I closed it myself, not the whole value ladder, but like really I closed it start to finish. It felt like there. And then that same week I closed 2 others. So I had my kind of first almost 4K week there. And then January, kind of fast forward, the sales kind of kept coming and I ended up hitting my first 15K month in that January there. So
that's nuts.
That, that's kind of, and like, it all comes back to, it's like, are you going to let these other things get you down? If I could have easily gotten that thing refunded and said, I need to take a break from this, man. Like, this isn't working. This isn't it. And once again, where the hell would I be now? Sorry to say that, but where would I be now?
Honestly, man, like 2 things really stood out to me from the day we met, even shortly after this, and since we'll get to soon. But I think the reason you had that such large uptick in growth and hitting past that 10K month so early is because you had that belief and you had confidence in yourself, and you expressed that confidence super well. And I think ultimately that when you have confidence and when you have belief in yourself, it's so much easier to make sales happen and be better at sales, even without having mastered sales skills itself. It's just showing that person that, hey, you believe in yourself, you believe in what they're doing and the path you're putting them on, and that alone makes a huge difference.
Oh, totally there. And that month of December, I was once again truly going, because like I said, I got my wife who's like, I don't know about this thing, man. I don't know, Justice. so I'm like, I gotta go all out for this here. And once again, I remember I was, I'll even throw some specifics. I was jumping on 10 to 15 sales calls a week from that whole month of December there, and making only 1 high ticket sale the very last day of the month. Like, it's a tough thing to go through. So absolutely got to have that persistence. And once again, that willingness just to keep going until you get there. And no matter, I took it as great practice. And honestly, I remember it was like 2 days before I got that high ticket sale on the 31st there, December. I got in a call with one of my coaches at the time, and we were getting on the call. He's like, man, you're doing all this kind of stuff wrong here. I recorded when he's like, all right, make these changes. And then things seemed to really just drastically change after that call for us, I remember. So that was a big thing there. And as I said, January, that's when things really got rolling.
And then that brings us to when we met, right shortly after that.
Right after January, man, exactly. I had a call with Jacob there, and he had mentioned, pretty much we're breaking down where I was at, and we were kind of talking about, I'm big on offering my support. Like, I'm, even if it's affiliate product, like, and even, you're all about this too, man. So offer my support in a way to not only like, hey, just buy into this program, and this program's amazing. It's like, I want to be there to put some skin in the game to help people out. So, but the way I was going about it, I realized that I'm going to make it so I have 0 time left in my day. And I'm not going to be able to make any new sales because I'm too busy just stuck in this system that I created for myself, this poorly made system, because I just wanted to keep making sale after sale and not thinking down the line. So I remember having that conversation. I took a major step back and realized I need some, once again, speed here, right? And this is in January. I don't know when I'm going to have to go back to my job. Like, I got to make this thing happen. So now I'm at the point where, okay, once I'm at a crossroad that I already know which direction I'm taking. Either try and figure it out on myself, find someone who knows what the heck they're talking about. And then in come Mr. Fontana here, and things are completely switched up.
So at that stage, when you kind of came to that realization, I think before that, even you made a really good point to those watching too, at the beginning stages. Like, I was the exact same way in the beginning, and in terms of offering that support to make your offer more compelling. And I think those out there at the very beginning stages feeling like, oh, I don't have results, I can't make sales. I think a big thing to realize is that you have a competitive advantage in the fact that you can offer much higher levels of support than guys like myself and Justice can now, as we're at a higher level, because you're at that beginning stage. You have more time to do it. So that's a strong competitive advantage to utilize. But as you continue to grow and make some sales happen through that, you're going to hit another roadblock along the way. Just like every new level of growth, you're always going to hit a different roadblock. So at this point, he got that foundation down. He was starting to build up his audience. He made those initial sales through a strong offer, but now he's running low on time. So that's where you met me. But I was curious too, like, how did you come across me and what made you approach me?
Right. I had already, kind of gone in looking. I was looking for different places. I'd been talking to someone else where, once again, trying to feel it out. I always had my eye on their situation. I had known about you, but we had never even, I think we might have had a one message exchange at one point, maybe some point like in 2020. But that was it. I didn't really know too much about you, but I think I remember, this goes back to how powerful content is, and man, how lucky timing is. I don't know. I won't say the word luck, just a beautiful coincidence of how I think you were putting out something with the workshop at the time. And then I reached out. I was like, man, everyone's talking about this Blake guy. Let me see what he's got going on. He's got a free workshop. It can't hurt. So I did that. And then before I knew it, you responded. We jumped on a call. And once again, you were even in my mind as far as, like, once again, I was thinking, I need to invest my money somewhere next. Where am I going to put it? You were in my mind, but once again, we never really had a conversation before. So it never was that really crossing my mind to that extent. So then we jumped on a call, and instantly, I mean, maybe not instantly, but within 15, 20, 30 minutes by the time the call was over, I knew it was the best fit.
And like I said, I knew from the moment we had that first call, belief and confidence, but the two biggest things that stood out to me that I knew you were going to do really big things at that point. But I think even just hearing you say that now, like, you didn't want to stop after that last two investments. You knew that it was time to put more money in because you knew you needed to have fuel that fire to propel the next level. And I think sometimes a lot of people invest and may seem some success, but then they put the foot on the brakes and say, it's time to just make the most of this, when in reality, something new could be that next level for them.
Oh, man, that's so spot on. I'm a big believer of, I think, like all of us are, I mean, all of us really getting some traction here, momentum and leveraging that momentum. Realistically, once again, I come off a 15K a month. I have a couple of choices. I can keep doing what I'm doing and hope that it stays the same, or I can find out exactly what I need to do to leverage the heck out of that momentum and make the most out of it. And to me, it was a no-brainer taking the latter.
Perfectly said, man. So this brings us to now, the time where we started working together. I remember, so at this time, you just mentioned you had roughly 40 calls the month before, roughly 10 a week, 8 to 10 a week.
Yeah.
So you were spending a lot of time on the phone. And there was one other thing that really pointed out. Number two, I think you were kind of mainly focused on, like, just pretty much sales, like DMs and sales. You were still kind of in between with content, right?
1,000%. So even up to this point, while we're speaking, I still have the same mentality behind content. Put out content just to put it out, keep up that authority. Once again, that was it. It was more so just to keep up appearances. The main strategy is just like you said, DMs, sales calls, strategy sessions. That was the goal.
And the funny thing is too, like, even at the time where you felt like, okay, I'm just putting out pointless content, but I'm at least putting out content. The biggest thing was you were showing up consistently for your audience. So even if it wasn't super purposeful, your people were still seeing it. It was still nurturing them, and it maybe wasn't allowing them to reach out to you and ask to work with you, but they were still seeing you show up every single day. And I think when we started together, I knew you had, just looking at your friends list, looking at your profile, you had a foundation in place. And that kind of brought us to our first kickoff call. And if you want to kind of go over like just a few things I said to you on that kickoff call that turned into something shortly after.
Man, the first kickoff call, it feels like a blur a little bit, right? I said the very first one, I knew immediately though, because once again, we were even kind of coaching before, even like our first, once again, that's why after our first even strategy session, whatever I called before we officially started coaching, you were pointing out these weak spots, these bottlenecks in the business, right? And so that's where, once again, I'm spending, my closing rate was extremely low, right? It was, once again, I was getting a lot of calls, so I was able to make sales. But at the end of the day, like seeing that and pointing this out. So I know for sure one of the first things we got going was really diving into the numbers, making sure that I'm keeping track of my data day by day there. I know we talked about also really drumming up. I'm positive we got into content. I do remember this. So we got into content on the side of knowing what problems my audience is facing. once again, I was really going surface level, but really understanding at a deep level and writing it down. Like even like when it comes to our data, like writing this stuff down, I even look at now, I was thinking that earlier this week, how powerful that really still is when I'm writing my goals down, every weekly goals here. It's like, if you have all this in front of you, one, it makes it that much easier to now go ahead and write the content, because I have a long list of problems. Because as you know, I keep all these journals and stuff. So whenever I'm on a strategy session or something, going through a messenger conversation, I have this long list of issues that I know people are going through within the industry. So now it's going about and putting these all on paper and putting this all into one central location, so I can go ahead now and put that into my content, put that into what you gave me was a strong framework at the time, and which really allowing me to get some belief shifting going. And then on top of that, really diving in on, I never really cared who my customer avatar was before. So that was another thing. I remember that first session we talked about that. So yeah, man, big eye opener.
All super strong points. That's kind of where we get into the whole authentic attraction and everything behind that. Because at the time when Justice signed up, I asked him a few things. I said, how many messages are you sending out each month right now? If you had to estimate, how many calls are you having each month? And just seeing those two numbers alone, I think I said back to it, dude, if you keep doing this, you're going to kill yourself. Like, you're going too crazy. But I knew at the same time, he's been showing up so consistently. He had a really strong foundation. It was time to make the most of it. So at that time, we talked a little bit about some new types of content that he could incorporate, how to do it in an authentic way that didn't come off as though he needs to continue to just cold DM people, but start to actually attract people that align with who he is and his core values as a person. And with the foundation he built, right after our first call, you put out the post, you sent me a message 2 hours later, and like a $2,500 sale in the bag.
Close at within 24 hours, man. Just like that. I'm telling you, didn't see that coming.
And the moment you sent me that message, I'm like, this dude's an action taker. He's going to do big things. Yeah. And the rest is history from there. You just continue to grow and grow and grow.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate you saying that.
So kind of even going towards that as well, I know aside from the DMs and not focusing a ton on content attracted you to work with me, I also know it was also kind of, like you said, wanting to get into coaching, but not wanting to do it on the one-to-one side of things. So you wanted to have more of a scalable offer that you could actually roll out and take things to 20K, 30K months.
Exactly. Like we were saying, realistically, the way I'm setting things up, I'm working another job. If I keep on knocking out, if I have 10 one-to-one sales where I'm getting people on one-on-one basis, giving them support 1 month, and I promise to give them X amount of time, whether it's multiple months, that second month, let's say I get another 10 sales. I'm giving myself no chance to now make any new sales that next month or the month after. And though, once again, in the beginning, this doesn't sound too bad. You're like, well, shoot, hey, at least I made those sales. But like, once again, you're really killing yourself for the long term as far as kind of going back to that theme. I want that momentum. I don't want to feel like I have to have a month where I'm just doing nothing and it's not even like productive. I'm just spending my time in the wrong ways, not being so efficient. So that was a big piece as to why I realized, hey, I love working with people one-on-one, but I need to have another option so that once again, I can help more people and do it another way. But once again, how do I go about doing that? I wanted, do I take the long road or do I take a path where someone else has already been down that and can once again really give me some guidance there? So that was also a huge piece there. The content, man, the content side of what you showed me, that was just a huge added bonus. I think about that even to this day. It's like, I could have cared less. I felt, as like I said earlier, I could have cared less about the content side. I was like, shoot, I'll put out posts. I'm fine, man. Just give me your strategy on other stuff. Right. So that on top of it, like really, man, both just really helpful there. Yeah.
100%, man. And then at this time, like once you started to land those first couple of sales, we started to kind of talk about like what this coaching offer was. And you had an offer in place, but I think we basically just clarified the challenge that you were trying to solve further, systemized the solution a little bit more, and then started to communicate it and offer it to people. And things took off pretty quickly with the way that you did that.
Absolutely. I think that even when I've had other people kind of ask me like, how do you go about starting these things? And like, without going to like too much detail about it, it's like the strategy that we took to set this thing up, I thought, looking back, really well done. Like people don't talk about this kind of stuff too much, where it's like, we really crafted it ahead of time. And just the way we went about putting it out there in the world, like by the time it was really presented to the masses, there was already people on board. Like it was already, I'm not gonna say a proven system, but like this thing was already a moving machine. So it just made it that much more confidence for myself, adding to this confidence where I'm like, man, like this thing is already here. It's working. There's already people in the system now. I'm ready to take this thing public, basically, and
Yep.
just make it that much easier, make the transition.
Through that stealth launch before. And I think like this goes to show anybody watching here now, like for those thinking working, me, Justice, like the biggest thing is don't realize that it's not people that are just starting at 10K a month that can go and scale to 6 figures. I think the biggest thing is we help a variety of people that are at starting at 1K, people that are at 5K, people that are at 10K. But the biggest thing is helping that person show them where to put the focus to achieve that next level. And typically when you're below 15K, the focus should maintain on content, messaging, and sales. And that's really where the focus needs to stay to propel that next level. It's when you get to where Justice was starting to get to a month into our time together, where he was growing past 15K with this new group coaching offer, where he was actually starting to have to deliver strong coaching calls and keep his clients happy and get them strong results. That's when things become tricky because there's a lot more moving parts involved. And that's where you start to run into some new problems along the way.
Absolutely. And even as we've talked about over the past lately couple months, whatever you want to call it there, really focus on that side. And there's so many more moving parts when you add to it. And that's the beauty of it. And I feel like I'm a broken record with how I say it. But once again, hey, Blake, thanks for helping me set this thing up. I'm gonna take off now. I'm good to go, man. You be good. Take care. It's like, or do I go ahead and continue to make sure that I can finally tune this piece here and know how to balance everything else on top of it? And once again, going from the madman doing cold traffic consistently as my bread and butter, how effective can I be doing that while I'm trying to run all of these other pieces of my business, trying to add new systems, trying to make things as simplified as possible? It takes time to get there. So once again, do I want to put this thing on a hold? And that's where, once again, when you start to adding things like content into your strategy, really building up that true attraction marketing by having actual direction when you're doing it, not just by having a cool cover photo. These are things that really take this to the next level for you.
You didn't even update your cover to an even more professional one till recently. And that just goes to show same with mine early on. It was nothing great. Covers don't really mean anything. At the end of the day, it's important to have branding that aligns with who your audience is and to have some copy on it that aligns with your audience, but it doesn't need to be super fancy. The biggest thing is that they're starting to see who you are through your content. And I think looking back when we started with Justice, first, number one, dialed in the content, dialed in the lead generation process, started to get some more leads coming in without having to rely on those cold DMs. And then now was kind of shifting the focus towards sales, optimizing the sales process. We did that. He doubled his sales percentage, was closing more offers with less calls, and was able to step back from those phone calls a little bit more. And now it was time where got to this group coaching offer, and we dialed this in and then started to systemize that a little bit.
Oh yeah, and even I think that was back in March when, I was closing back. Going before that, I think I was at best 20% closing rate, which once again, it was okay depending on how you're looking at it, because I'm getting the results I wanted, but putting a lot of effort in to get it. And then jumping up, I think we saw a 40% closing rate for March there. So, and then even to this date, I forget if it was June or May, 50% closing rates. So once again, it's these things and it's just a lot of small shifts in just the way that you're thinking long-term about your strategy. And the way that I even am approaching prospects, being very deliberate and intentional with who I'm spending my time with, not just getting on the phone with anybody, not just diving into deep conversations with anybody, just being aware. I think that it forces yourself to do that, especially I think once you get the taste of it, that March, that was a 30 plus K month there. And so, now really being able to take advantage of that, I'm like, you know what? And once again, with a 40% closing rate. So now, do I want to go back to how things were? Of course, I'm not going to expect that I'm going to always have a knockout closing rate. But at the end of the day, let's strive for that. That was a good feeling. I want to keep going towards that. So it just changes your shift. Really changes your shift there. How you.
Greg even just commented in and said small shifts, huge results, and that's perfectly said. Usually, especially if you showed up to your audience like Justice had before for a period of months before, it's typically a couple small tweaks, and you can achieve some pretty explosive growth pretty quickly if you align those things and do those things. And that's exactly what he did. And those small shifts led to huge results. And the nice thing about that shift itself is the fact that once you see that uptick in results, it just leads to even higher levels of confidence, higher levels of belief, and it just continues to grow.
Oh, spot on there.
So kind of going into this group coaching offer, I think even just touching on this a little bit for those watching,
Yeah.
A lot of people that want to get into launching a coaching offer, launching a course, whatever it is, I think a lot of people want to build everything first, make it super fancy and perfect, and then start to sell it. Usually when I teach, it's a little bit reverse, more towards what I like to call a bare bones launch. And honestly, the reason behind this is because we're having the actual customer in mind first, because we want to make sure that they have the best experience, that they're getting everything that they need without assuming, hey, they need this, hey, they need that. We want to make sure if they're getting stuck on something that we have something there for them. So pretty much for that first month, I feel like we were dialing in your offer and your delivery. And then once you had that down, we could start to scale things from there.
Yeah, and that brings up a really good point where I think I was even touching on it briefly before, talking about adding, like, especially over the past couple months, adding in specific ways to help people. Like, spot on with what you were saying there. Realistically, you want to go ahead and you want to build everything up front. But at the end of the day, you don't know where people are going to get caught up on. You might think you have all the answers because I went through this journey before. I know where I had struggles. These people are all going to have the same situation as me. Like, that, it's not identical. So at the end of the day, understanding, just like looking back from a high level and just seeing where are people falling through the cracks. That was a big theme when we kind of, after a month or two of having this group coaching offer in place, really looking back and saying, where are the top 3 places that people are struggling? Like, where are the top 3 places? And let's hammer in on there and see what we can do to really simplify those parts. And that was something, because, it's like, once again, I could have let me go ahead and just spend 20 hours trying to focus on funnel building when people don't have an issue with the funnel building. It's like people have an issue with whatever areas they have, and let's watch and see and listen and hear the feedback. And now understand, okay, you know what? I'm seeing a trend here. What can I do to simplify these pieces? Maybe I'm not being elaborate enough, or I'm not simplifying this enough to a point where it's a no-brainer and they can just go ahead and execute. So,
and it usually takes working with multiple students now you're at the point where you start to see that firsthand. Where in the beginning, you wanted to make sure that you could provide them with everything they needed early on, and the best thing to do is not to build everything out first and assume. And I think, like you said too, curious, what do you think is the main reason behind why most people want to have everything fancy, built out, have a whole members area, everything done to go right away?
I think because, I don't know, I'll say maybe subconsciously they love to procrastinate. I think because I'm guilty of it at times too, where realistically, as something as simple as the cover photos or building a website, it's like, realistically, let's talk about what's really producing the income in the business. Like, it can be really fun to make that cover photo. It can be really fun to work on that funnel. You want to get these things perfect, but at the end of the day, just get it out there. And like we said, I had the same cover photo. I just changed for the first time in like 6 months. Because once again, it wasn't broken, don't fix it. Like, realistically, there's so many other pieces. If I had cared about that more than updating my content strategy, the success would have, been so much slower because I've been so focused in the wrong areas. So I think that really it's just, once again, I don't want to be too blunt here, but like ignorance to focusing on what is most important. I mean that most polite way.
I agree. I think it comes back to fear and wanting to stay comfortable, where it's easy to get comfortable in designing something and building something out because it's cool, it's fun. I love building stuff.
Yeah. Right.
But at the same time, like, it's usually those people that are trying to avoid actually selling that thing itself. And this isn't to say that Justice rolled out a coaching offer with nothing for his people. You always want to start first and say, what are the core elements or the core pillars that I need to take my people through to get them to that goal? And he had all that in place. He had all that mapped out. He had all the videos made. He had a great experience for those new people to come into. But it's just a matter of taking that to the next level, refining it further, and making it the best experience possible, which takes some time to do.
Absolutely. I think even when kind of early on in that program too, I remember there was like a 2-week period of the month. I forget exactly which month it was, maybe April, where I was trying to kind of do both. And I just knew, all right, I need to deliberately I think I took 3-4 days or 2 days, whatever, 2-3 days. So really focus and just do this. Cause I was like, all right, I need to just get the basics in there. Just like you said, give my people enough so they can really focus and have a path to take down. And then over time, I can continue to build off it. But I remember trying to balance and do both a little bit too much. And I wasn't being as productive. I wasn't really getting in my sales as well as I should have. I wasn't taking care of this new group coaching offer I had as much as I should have. So I knew, let me just pump the brakes. I'm realizing the situation I'm in, dedicate the right amount of time, not for a whole month. I don't need all that. It's like, realistically, you dedicate, we've talked about how important it is just a time block. Like, I because of you, I'm really big in doing that for my schedule. Like, I don't like seeing just gaps in my calendar. Just because I don't have any sales calls booked doesn't mean I can't put in, all right, record some content for 3 hours here. Just go in there and do it. And like that 2 or 3 sessions of that, you're going to have a lot more progress than you think, instead of just dedicating a week here and there.
That's the hardest part in the beginning, I feel like, is you have to wear a lot of hats. You have to wear the marketing hat, you have to wear the sales hat. For those that are affiliate marketers, you don't have to wear the delivery hat as much, because you don't have to deliver as much, because that's somewhat taken care of for you. But it's when you add in that delivery and you have your own coaching offer, now you got 3 hats that you have to wear. And this kind of brings us to where, Justice, I think at this point, you rolled out that coaching offer. You basically sold out all your initial spots through the launch that we put together. And then at that time, I think right after, you had your first 30K month, or past first 30K month.
Yeah, that was March where I hit that first 30K month. And yeah, I mean, now it's, you've seen the numbers I've hit in 20K weeks. It's unbelievable where it's gotten to at this point. But yeah, that's spot on.
From that point, continued to progress and add up to 6 figures, which is why we're here. But I think just on this topic now, like along the hatch lines, in the beginning, you have to match those marketing and sales hats first, and everything else becomes easier after. But once you get into delivery, now you kind of got to flip between these different hats and make sure that you're giving a really complete sound experience for your clients and making sure they're getting results. And then it's the point where now it's time to ask yourself, okay, what can I get off my plate so I can be better for my clients, so I can show up better within my content? And that's kind of what we've been working on the last couple of months, and even to date now.
Absolutely. And even like, I think I was just getting into having a VA at the time we were talking, like once again, first starting to work with you, but once again, knowing how to like truly delegate tasks, that once again, things I don't want to do, but also things that can help just enhance all the pieces. And once again, take my time so now I can focus on the things that I enjoy that much more. I like that zone of genius, right? It's like focusing on, I like writing content. I like making content. And I also like really, once again, building out the group coaching program, a mentorship program in general. That's a really enjoyable process, and like actually help people get results. So like wanting to focus more energy on that, and what can I do to make sure that my systems are that much more in place, adding simple things like automation like that. I never heard of Zapier before we had connected, and now it is a staple of my business.
You got more depth, you know what to do with now.
Right, exactly. Right. So just adding all these little things, that's really, once again, like you said, there's no need to overcomplicate things in the beginning when you can just do all that manually, be the jack of all trades. But yeah, once you start hitting that, getting things to that point, it really helps to really dive those in and take that next step there.
Perfectly said, man. To the first 15K month, everybody out there, the key is simplicity. Keep it simple. Marketing, sales, content, messaging. That's really all it comes down to, is keeping the focus on that. Now that Justice is continually growing, 30K months down to 6 figures, this is when you start to experience new levels of challenges, such as getting some time back, because there's a lot of moving parts that are involved, and you have to make sure things run seamlessly. And that's where it's time to bring in people to your team to help delegate some things and make sure that everything's operating smoothly. And he's done a great job at doing that as well.
Absolutely, man. It's big there. And it's, as we've talked about plenty of times, you get so attached to different positions of your business that you're doing. You're like, how can someone else do this as good as me? This is my thing. You lose that lack of trust. But once again, where do you want to take this thing? Are you trying to work this like it's a 9-to-5? Because we already left our 9-to-5s, right? We're not trying to go back to that side. Realistically, what can we do? And obviously, yeah, sure, you may be getting paid more than you were at your 9-to-5 if you're able to do this and hit 10K, 15K months, depending on what your previous job was. But I got a family. I got 2 girls, a newborn, my wife. It's like you want to be able to spend that time. So making it so you can set your own schedule exactly how you want without needing to go overtime all the time. I think, you got to find that balance for your own sanity long term. And, it allows you to, I think a part that I love too, it allows you to really get to more of a high level, like kind of looking down and seeing like, where are these cracks in the system? Then, you can go ahead and step in and nail that in. Like we talk about this all the time. Like sometimes maybe after you come off of a big month, you maybe take a step back and you think, all right, let me tweak these few things just so I can make this easier. And then boom, we get back into it next week or whenever that thing is there. Just being more intentional with exactly what's going on and understanding all the kinks in the process.
Awareness around your numbers, awareness around where your business is at as a whole. And this is where like you've truly come to the stage where you're the definition of an unleashed CEO. Like you have complete control of your business. You have systems in place. You have complete control over your lead flow, which if you don't have that, then you really don't have a business. But now you can generate leads on demand. You have a team that's there to help you. And you've built a really strong offer with a really strong coaching program that is getting results. And that's what it's all about. Not to mention, you just had your second kid throughout all this process of having these big months.
Man, right, exactly. So it goes to show that anything's possible out there, realistically. And that's kind of one of the things too, where, the more you can have this stuff set up, it helps you when you have a team and a system. I kind of was out of commission for at least a solid week and a half to 2 weeks, but still allowing things to keep moving. If you have a system, it allows you now, even if I just want to take a 2-week vacation, things can at least still move, and I don't have to be completely hands-on. Obviously, like realistically, it'll be tough for me to be that hands-off for that long of a time. But if in theory here, and as much as I can allow myself to, it really allows you to just get that freedom you're looking for. And like I even kind of said in the beginning, right? That's what my kind of thing was getting into this, wanting that work from home life, being able to really have that freedom where I can be with my family and spend that extra time with them. So, just do what you can to get closer to that.
I think there's a big difference too in not being able to take time off because you truly can't, because your business will shut down, and not being able to take time off just because you just love it that much. And I think
totally.
Yeah.
Oh.
So at this time, I know we're about 50 minutes in. Justice and I could just sit here and talk with you guys all day. So we'll wrap up here soon. And just kind of, I know we have about 7 to 10 people on. For those that are watching, again, let us know in the comments below. If you're getting value from this interview, hearing Justice's story, kind of his growth along the way and the steps that he took, drop a hashtag value below and let us know too.
I hope so. And it's been great sharing here. Like you said, we can, that seems to be how our conversations go. We just keep going and going.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Awesome. I can't see the names, but I see some emojis, some value drops. I love it.
So as we close out today's interview, any questions, we'll field like 2 to 3 questions here for those that have it as well. Myself or Justice directly, feel free to ask away if you have any questions for us based on what we went over today.
Yeah, sure. Open book over here. Fire away. Hashtag respect. I love it. I don't know what that is, but I like it. Oh man.
Nothing makes me respect guys like Justice more than the action that he takes. Truly, like the reason you achieved the growth you did is because you just took relentless action. You just showed up. You took action on what was in front of you and you made the most of it. I think a lot of people could be eye-opening for some, but some people see the word action, they say, oh, everybody says that. But you take belief, confidence, and action, you combine that together and you get a powerful recipe.
Oh, absolutely. There. And even I think because people, you can always take action and just, once again, you can have 8 hours in your day, but once again, what kind of action are you taking? Are you taking productive action, or are you just you dancing around doing things that are making you feel like you're putting some effort in your business? I think once you really start to dial it in, know where you need to focus, and then you take action on that. And once again, just focus on those income producing activities, especially in the beginning. Once again, even if you're not getting results and you push through it because you know you're going to get there, it's a matter of time. I honestly believe it really is a matter of time. I basically went almost, I feel like 2 months of, going extremely hard. And a lot of people they could go for 2 months. They feel like, you know what? I'm going to start slowing down. I'm going to take a week off. I'll get back to this thing, and then once again, like we're talking about leverage, momentum. Yeah. You're setting yourself back. And so that's a big thing right there, man. Oh, spot on.
Momentum is a powerful thing if you can continue to leverage it. Greg asked, did you have a preset script or did Blake rework that too? I'll share some thoughts on that and I'll let Justice share his too. So I'm a firm advocate of not just reading off a script and sticking to the script in messenger conversations and calls. Like a framework that I taught Justice on calls is a simple 6-question framework, because I know that if you can learn how to ask the right questions and not be relying on a script, you're going to be seen as a lot more authentic. You're going to be seen as a lot more genuine. It's going to be a lot easier to make that sale happen. And to me, in order to make easier sales happen, it all comes around to being genuine and actually connecting with that person on the other side. And scripts can make that a little bit difficult for those that feel they need a script. But Justice, I'll let you share your thoughts on that too.
Spot on, man. I think I could talk on the messenger side and the call side, but let's just talk about the call for a second. I think the big problem with solely relying on a script, and once again, if it's your first time jumping on a call, I can understand that. But realistically, if you want to get good at this thing and really take it to the next level, you're going to disconnect. I think the problem with the script is you disconnect with people. I'm a big believer of when you're speaking with someone, and that's why I like getting on the phone, because you're able to build rapport that much faster and, get a good feel for how the person's feeling on the other side, instead of going through text there sometimes. So once again, you go throughout your conversation, you're building up all this rapport. And then a lot of times people, whether you have a script in between or you start asking questions that are real scripted, or maybe your pitch is extremely scripted there, you really disconnect is what I've noticed. You've built up all this trust with, like, you guys are, man, you're talking about the challenges that this person is having and these pain points. And then you present this pitch that is just so by the book, and it doesn't speak on half of the things that you just talked about really resonated with this person about. Yeah. And now all of a sudden I feel like you lose them. So I think that was a big reason why, like, just have these general questions in mind, right? You don't have to say them word for word there, but understand just the direction you'd like to take it, and then go with the flow there. And the better you get with that, same thing inside Messenger, right? The better you get with that, the better results you're going to have.
Yeah. And the less scripts become needed at all.
Spot on there, right? Because it's more so of a framework in general than an exact script, right? A mindset that you're going into this thing with. Yeah, I think that's big there, right? So yeah, we didn't talk much about, Blake, what do you send exactly, for your scripts here? That, like, I can't remember having a deeper than a 15-minute conversation on any kind of stuff like that, realistically.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, scripts, like, it can work for one person, but if you apply that to everybody else, it's not going to be your voice. And I think a framework, you can actually apply that and take it and make it your own, and actually sound like yourself and be you and not be somebody else.
That reminds me specifically for two-step posts. I feel like, once again, Blake has a certain voice for two-step posts. I'm using more so when I do it, I keep a similar framework. Once again, I just notice, all right, you know what? This doesn't quite sound like me and how I've had a previous conversation with this person. Why am I going to change the flow up and be like, who is this robot now talking to me compared to the person I was talking to before? It just doesn't match. So Once again, yeah, being genuine up front. And then once again, as the conversation continues, just keeping that throughout. And I think I think that's helped me drastically too, just making that kind of tweak as early on as I did.
100%. Like, I think the old school sales tactics of running people through a script, pushing on objections, trying to get them to take action, that stuff doesn't work anymore. I think more than anything, intimacy selling and actually value-based selling and just being genuine and authentic sells more than anything else.
Totally, man. Totally. I hear that I have a decent personality, so I like to take, I try and take advantage of that as far as, don't feel like I got to be this pushy guy. Yeah. People, we're selling to people at the end of the day. So if you and someone else are having a genuine connection, like, embrace that.
I think we tend to forget that sometimes too. We're not speaking to robots. We're speaking to real human beings on the side.
Oh, spot on, man.
Louis asked, would you guys recommend developing our coaching offer as soon as we start having our first high ticket sales? In my case, good question. Again, we'll kind of do the same thing. I'll share my thoughts. Justin can share his. I would say that early on, I wouldn't recommend getting into coaching, but at the end of the day, to me, in order to justify launching a coaching offer and wanting to go all in with that, you need to have a process down, something that you can teach that is working, that's proven, that you can roll out to your people and help them get those same results. And it's not like Justice did the same thing. He made sure that he had a sound process on what he got in place that was working with SAA before he actually rolled into this coaching offer. And I think sometimes people can say, okay, I got one sale under my belt, now it's time to roll into coaching. But at the same time, it's going to be more difficult to do that just because you aren't as well known in the space. You don't have the social proof to roll that out and make it an easier launch. Doesn't mean it's not possible. But it's going to be a little bit more of an uphill battle to climb.
Oh, spot on there, man. I think that's really true. And I totally agree. I think that realistically, you need to start just having one sale isn't enough. I think, not to say that people don't do it, but at the end of the day, just because someone does it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. I think that realistically, like we were talking about, give the support. And to me, your coaching fee that's why we're working in high ticket. Your coaching fee is the affiliate product. 100%. Start to get those affiliate results up. And now you're being a coach, whether you want to call it or not, right? Take advantage of that affiliate side, get paid, and really it's going to make it that much less pressure, because once again, maybe your coaching skill isn't up to par to where it could be, and maybe you're still feeling like you're a little new at it. You have a program that's side by side with you, so once again, that's kind of picking up the slack for where you can't answer all the questions. So yeah. I would highly encourage. I feel like that was a big thing for me. It's like, hey, and once again, you're not only just getting this program here, you're getting me, right? So I'm big on, selling yourself, like, as far as, hey, the product's great, but once again, you're getting Justice here, right? You're getting Blake here, whatever, whoever you are. And so going ahead now, on the flip side of that, they do also have the program. They do probably have 6-7-figure mentors in the program as well. So that's just a nice way to, once again, beef it up, and I think get more sales faster. And then once you get that more leverage, social proof, it's going to make your life that much easier on the back end if you want to step into that arena.
Amen to that, 100%. Same way with me with early on in high ticket affiliate marketing as well. I put more of an emphasis on myself, the support that I offered, telling myself and being there for them to help them get results rather than just the vehicle of the program itself. And I think, Luis, for you too, man, like if you want to get into coaching, by all means, I think that a good place to start is maybe offer it for a lower cost just to get some results for those people. And if you can go out and help somebody go land their first sale and you have that proof and you help them generate that big win and momentum, now you're starting to validate what you're doing. And it's going to be a lot easier to propel that next level and launch it.
Oh, exactly. I think that's a big thing where, once again, I keep saying it, the whole leverage momentum. That's even what I tell to my students I'm working with. It's like, realistically, we're pushing to do whatever we can to get to that first sale. Because once we get that, that's when now the leverage really starts to kick in. Right? Once again, you can start showing people, hey, I got something that works here. And then once again, that's why once you get that thing that works, because once going back to even earlier as we were talking, I had my first high ticket sale in the middle of October, November, whatever that was. It got refunded, but in my eyes, I was still leveraging that as if it was a high ticket sale. I did the process, I made it work, and now I'm like, hey, I can't slow down because once again, I got some momentum. I got to keep going until I get that next one. And then once you kind of keep getting that going, I think it really helps the whole snowball effect there.
100%. Glad that was helpful, man. Good to hear.
Good.
All right. Looks like we covered the questions. We're at an hour in, so we will wrap up today with where we're at. Thanks again for everyone that joined on. And it's a pleasure having Justice, our first Unleashed CEO, entering the 100K club with us here today.
Appreciate your help, man.
It's been a pleasure working with you, man. It's been awesome. And we're still going, still much more growth to be done. And that's why Justice is the definition of an Unleashed CEO, because he's not just happy at one level of growth. He always wants to unlock new levels of growth, and he lets his action do the talking for him.
Well, thank you, man. Like, once again, it's like, what do I do from here? I think you're right. That is a place where a lot of people do kind of run into, as far as, I invested in something. I'm going to go ahead now and just take this and run. And there's always, I know you're a big believer in this too. It's like, there's always more that you can do, even in the little things, right? We always talk about if you can just get an ROI on it, and hopefully, times 2, times 3, whatever ROI you can get on it, that's going to be worth it. And now you have that new skill under your belt. And just imagine all these people. I don't think that I could have got to where I was if I wasn't investing in myself along the process. Not even I don't think. I know I wouldn't have. It's a
same here.
Guarantee, right? So just really embracing that mindset there, knowing that once again, even at this point, and I think that you and I can understand, like, even mentors, gurus above us, they have mentors, right? So if you think about it from that level, the learning's never done. And I know a lot of us here believe that. Most likely if we're here right now, you believe that. So learning's never done. Don't be afraid to, once you make something, feel like, you know what? I made my money back. Now I'm going to go keep going and going.
It's when you stop learning that momentum slows, confidence slows, and everything else goes the wrong direction. I think you continue learning, you continue showing up in your business daily, you can always continue to build more and more momentum. And I think even like what you said too, a lot of people will purchase a high ticket program for 6 months ago and continue saying that because they're saying, I put 2,500 into this, I got to make the most out of it. But sometimes all it takes is a new angle, some fresh scenery, and a couple of small tweaks to make a huge explosive spark and growth.
Yeah, exactly. It can make all the difference, seriously, as opposed to, do I want to spend, do I have 6 months? I didn't have 6 months. I thought that I was going to have to go back in April. So realistically, it's like, I don't have 6 months to wait. I think that kind of, if you can put some kind of pressure on yourself, I think even that's why we were talking about we can just keep talking, man. My fault.
No, you're good. Right, that's a good point. Let's finish this first, then one.
Right. So like, even keeping yourself accountable with having goals on a weekly basis, because that was one of the big things that is like truly a staple in my business, because where every week, every month, I have everything lined up to exactly where I want to get to. And that kind of puts some pressure on. It's like, I'm seeing these things. Like, for me, the first pressure was, I need to make this thing full time before I have to go back into the office, because I know it's not gonna work. I can't do my situation. It's not gonna be as effective, at least I felt. So I was like, I gotta make this work now. So still keeping myself accountable by doing little things like that, making sure that, hey, I want to hit this goal this week. I want to hit this goal next week. And that, so for the month, it comes out to this, and having it, and not just in the sales, but like how much you have to do throughout the week as far as your daily activities go, right? As far as how many people you're talking to each week, how many, if your person jumps on calls, how many calls you try to jump on this week, how many, lead generating content posts you're trying to put out this week. If you can keep yourself accountable there, that's the kind of, once again, the pressure. I know you even talked about in the workshop you did, like you mentioned there's like apps for this stuff. It's like, I can understand why that's true, because if you can have that kind of a push there, it's just going to really push you in that right direction and eventually get you to where you want to be.
I still, to this day, multiple six figures, track all my numbers and reflect every single week, reflect every night, and set 3 goals every day, because it's the foundation to everything. And when you lose sight of that stuff, you lose sight of what's going on each day, and out of nowhere, one bad day turns into another and another, and your momentum's gone. And I think just like what you said there, man, like about holding yourself to certain, basically what you did is you hold yourself to standards. And I think for people not happy with the way they're showing up, the first step is to raise the standards that you set for yourself and make the commitment to actually follow through with those.
Oh, yes, exactly. And I just did a post, I think it was like a week ago, where once again, I got all these journals, just like I showed, going back to like 2017, I saw. And, one of them was on there was, it said, like since 2017 or so, become a full-time entrepreneur. And it's like, the fact that has been on my mind, even though I never made it happen 2018, 19, 20, it's like the fact that I got here now, it's not a coincidence, it's always been at the forefront of my mind. So once again, if you keep writing that down, like I was never a believer of affirmations until you start doing it and you realize, shoot, even as we were going, like, all right, Justice, like, I think when we first started, my goal was to hit my first 20K month. And then, before we were talking about it more and more, and I got it on my whiteboard over here. It's like, at the time, it's like really being able to see it, visualize it, keep pushing towards it before you get to the point you're not even thinking about it. It's just subconsciously. And I think there is some superpower to that. That's
what you develop the habit.
Yeah.
100%. You develop the habit, and it's going to stick with you forever now. It's just getting past the hump of doing it consistently for a period of a couple months. And then you are now internally a consistent person in everything that you do, basically.
That really allows you to take that next level there. So, man,
as you guys can tell, Justice and I, over the last 6 months of growing a business with him, we've also developed a great friendship. So we could sit here and talk all day, but we will wrap up now.
We'll leave him here for all that.
Again, thanks for everybody that watched today. Appreciate everyone that hopped on, and we will see you on the next one.
All right. Appreciate you guys.